Hey guys, and welcome to another week of JdotAvenuePodcast. I'm your host, Jay, and we're here for another round. This week, I wanted to talk about that phrase that we hear all the time, teach me how to love. What exactly does that mean? Should we be teaching people how to love us? Let's get into it. I want to start off by saying that I was always one of those people that believe that you shouldn't have to tell someone how to love you, right? I felt like they should just pay attention to you and learn about me enough to do what needed to be done. And I always felt like they should just care enough to take the hint. Why do I have to specify my needs and my wants? Maybe some of you can relate to this. And every time someone advised me that one should be taught how to love you, I was always against it. And over time, I struggled. I struggled with that sentiment because no matter how many times I heard it, I was annoyed. And I knew how I felt, but I didn't know how to express it. I didn't know how to express why I was annoyed, or how to even explain my reasoning. Now I'm starting to shift perspectives a bit to where I'm starting to realize that I was just actually afraid. I was afraid. I was afraid that telling someone how I wanted to be loved would downplay my worth, if that makes sense. Because when I hear teach me how to love or teach them how to love you, I hear me having to give them detailed information, right? Instructions. I hear lesson plans. And so now I realize that teaching someone how to love you first involves demonstration. Demonstration by how you show up and how you love yourself, of course. I also learned that teaching someone how to love you, it doesn't replace them putting in effort. And I think that was my fear. I had a fear that by me doing this, I was taking away the space for this person to put forth effort. But I realized that teaching doesn't have to be a spoon-feeding process. It doesn't have to be something where I'm holding their hand and I'm doing all the work and putting in all the effort. No. Their willingness to want to learn how to show up for me in a way that I will understand and I will notice their effort, it can save a lot of misunderstanding, honestly. And it could save a lot of time because it takes away the need for assumptions, and their actions can kind of speak in a way in which I can recognize, understand, my heart can understand the intent. And so, because love isn't selfish, right? So how can I expect someone else who has their own ways of expressing love and receiving it? How can I expect them to automatically detect and conform to my ways? That's definitely not fair. And not everyone will be like me. Not everyone will be like you. No one's going to do exactly what you do or what you have done. And so I would say if that's what you expect, then self-love may be the only route for you this go round, if that's how you truly feel. Because I've had to come out of that and realize that, hey, maybe I have this wrong. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong. So that's one bit of advice I'd like to give to you guys for this week that I noticed coming up a lot on social media. And another debate that I want to get into is the idea of the word humble. Now, there has been a debate going on, and I'll explain the story of it, and then we'll dissect it. And hopefully you come out of this with a better understanding, so that way you can decide if you agree with the word humble. Do you think we should strive to be humble? Because the debate is, there's one side that says, all these years we've been taught we should be humble, we should humble ourselves, right? Be humble, sit down. So when you think about that word, a lot of people have delved into the origin and they've pulled the word apart. And I have to admit, when I first looked up the word humble versus humility, I could have sworn I saw a completely different definition, but I think I was looking at it in a different way. I recently went back to look up that definition, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't quite like the definition. It was something like when one lowers their importance. It's to lower your sense of importance against someone else. Now, I know humble has been used to describe ranks, and that's always been consistent. But how do we show ourselves to be humble through daily lives, and should we? My opinion is that I think over time people have used the word humble in the wrong way, to the extreme. And I don't think that was the point, the assignment. Because think about it. When you tell someone to be humble, we're not saying to be less than or to be less than someone else. That is not what you're meaning. Majority of the time, this is only my opinion, majority of the time when we say that, what we mean is not to be so arrogant or have this high sense of self that you see others as inferior. So it is trying to balance out this superiority. That is how I take the word humble or humility. If you say humble yourself, I take it as, do not think so big of yourself that you think that you are invincible. And I'll give you an example. I don't think you should think so big of yourself that you think that you are absolved of experiencing any adversities, any struggles or difficulties. None of us are bigger than life, right? Things happen to everyone. Everyone has that possibility that, hey, you may fail. You may struggle sometimes. You may face difficulty sometimes. We are not bigger than that. So humble yourselves. Have a little sense of humility to where you can recognize that, okay, this is indeed a possibility for me. I am no bigger than anyone else in the sense that I cannot experience hardships just like everyone else. That's how I take the word humility. I don't take it in the sense of humble yourself as in bring yourself lower than your oppressor or oppressors and push yourself at the bottom of the barrel. I don't take it as that, because it's so sad to see when we take all these words and we use them excessively to the point that we kind of like abuse them. Because where did humble get to be negative? It's like we're so focused and fixated on being so aware that we're losing the idea that we're losing the idea of moderation. We're so aware, we're so high on alert that everything has to be black or white, left or right. And we're trying to get rid of that middle ground. But why? Why are we trying to get rid of the middle ground? That is where balance resides. Case in point, I consider myself a very empathic person, or empathetic, whichever word you choose to use, where I am an empath. So, of course, I'm probably predisposed to have more humility than someone else, maybe. I'm an empath, so I'm predisposed to be more sensitive naturally by nature than the next person. But that does not mean that I should just get rid of it altogether. The point of life is to know who you are, so that way you can fine-tune certain qualities and traits that we all have the ability to possess. So if I'm an empath, probably my goal, my lesson in life is to learn how to be more assertive. It is to learn how to have higher discernment than the average person. It is also probably to have a higher level of detachment. That is probably a skill that I need to master. Because people think of detachment and they think, oh my God, that's a horrible skill. No, it's not. Sometimes it's necessary for you to learn how to detach, especially if you're already predisposed naturally to being an empath. And so, should I have so much humility that it becomes excessive to the point that it is humiliation? No. So it's not wrong for me to be humble, at least slightly humble sometimes, in the sense that I understand that I'm not above this life, but I'm not going to be welcoming humiliation or to bring myself completely down below another. We could look at it that way. We could also look at it in the terms of being humbled also doesn't have to be something where we compare ourselves to other people. I think that's the issue, is we take the word humility and we're applying it as a competition or a comparison. Humility does not mean, or being humble does not mean that you are humbling yourself to uplift someone else. It doesn't have to always be that. And it shouldn't be. Of course, you're going to look out for yourself first. You're going to hold yourself in the highest regard. That goes for everyone. And that's the point. Everyone is afforded that opportunity, just like everyone can fail. Everyone can succeed. And so I tend to look at humility and humbleness in terms of an understanding. A humbling, which is like an understanding that I cannot stand here and say I'm never going to experience hardship. Because that's like a sense of entitlement and arrogance. So you don't have to be so meek, or you don't have to see yourself as inferior to anyone. Humility is about leveling, right? Bringing it to the same level. And that could apply into different situations. I like to think of it as humility leveling as far as life. The opportunities that life affords. The possibilities that this life can bring to each of us. We should all be on a leveling field. In my opinion, of course. So, I will continue to say that I'm a person that has humility. I don't see anything wrong with that, because again, it's your intent when you're using that word. You don't have to use it or use that definition in a perverted way to where it's excessive. It is simple. It's just humble humility, not humiliation. That's an extreme. So yeah, I don't know where we went wrong, but this is like the new controversy. And I know religion has a lot to do with it, because religion is usually what reinforces this idea. And then historically, as we know, religion was created, indoctrinated for certain purposes, certain benefits to a specific racial group of people. And so when you think about that, of course, it puts a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, where we're trying to go against the grain to reestablish a sense of dominance, a sense of importance. But you can just do that with all the extra stuff. Because who cares what other people think? The whole goal is for you to recognize your importance, your own importance, and what was taken from you historically in that sense. So that was what I wanted to talk about with that, because someone did ask me what did I think. Some weeks ago they asked me what I thought about the whole topic, and this is kind of that delayed response. I'm finally responding to that in this aspect. Speaking of humility and the idea of shrinking oneself, one's importance, I want to also talk about another theme that correlates with that, which is very prevalent on Twitter in the Black community. And that is the issue that for a lot of Black women, they feel like they have to shrink themselves in order to fit in to what is expected of them from not only other racial groups, but also men. And you'll see a lot of times where you may come off as, they like to label it as aggressive. Oh, she's aggressive because she's very direct. But then when men are direct, you don't come off as aggressive. It's kind of expected. And I want to be very clear, just because you channel your feminine energy also has this fierceness attached to it as well. It also has its spaces of strength. So make no mistake, I can be strong, I can be direct, and I can still possess feminine energy. The two are not separated. They're very much connected, interconnected. And I think we do need to be careful with how we label, categorize, and what we expect from people, especially Black women in society now, because I should not have to speak softly in order to make you comfortable. I should not have to dilute who I am or dilute my sense of self, my confidence, just to make you happy or comfortable so you don't feel uncomfortable. Because that is projection. That is projecting your insecurities onto me. You see what I'm saying? And I see this play a lot at work, in the work environment. You may have a group of people, you have one Black woman, and she may come off very direct, very straightforward, unwavering, to where she's not going to put up with any and everything. And as a man, it's accepted. But as a Black woman, it's not. And you'll see people say, well, she comes off as an angry Black woman, or she comes off aggressive, or too straightforward. She looks like she has a little sass, a little attitude when she's simply just speaking. It's just not the message you wanted to hear. And so because you don't want to hear it, does not mean that all of a sudden I become this angry black woman or an aggressive person. Oh my gosh, she thinks she's all that because of how she holds her head and how she walks. And so yeah, no, that definitely is not the business. We should definitely, if you are insecure, keep your insecurities to yourself. Sort them out on your own. But if you see someone that happens to be extremely confident, very direct, very focused, certain about what they want, and they speak well, or they have an accent, they have they use slang, whatever it is, they're comfortable in who they are, they're comfortable in their skin. It does not threaten you in any way. It should not threaten you in any way. And it shouldn't be your business. It shouldn't be your concern. So, if you're a Karen that likes to police people, then yeah, you should find something else to do. Because this is not the task for you. We should not be going around policing people and telling them how they need to behave in order to suit our comfort or comfortability. And I think that's the message here, because I see it happen a lot and play out, and we're tired. We're tired. We're going to be who we are. Because a lot of us work very hard to get to this point. You work very hard to get to a point to where you find confidence in yourself, in your skin, in your body type. It takes a lot of work and unlearning and a lot of healing for you to get into that space. So when we see another woman, black, white, whatever have you, when we see another woman that is in their glow, in their radiance, and they are comfortable in their skin, we should be encouraging that, uplifting that, no matter who it is, whether we know them or we don't. Encourage it, because why not? Because you're not comfortable with yourself, so you don't want them to be comfortable with themselves. That's not their responsibility. Let's not project. Also, as a man, even, learn to allow that space for a woman to uplift themselves, to find themselves attractive. Because a lot of men, and I've dealt with this a lot with a lot of males, where dating, friends, whatever, if they see a woman who is very confident and very attractive, to them, it's almost like they refuse to compliment them. And I talk about this on my personal social media page. They refuse to compliment them, these women, because they feel like, oh, everybody probably tells her that she looks good, so I'm not going to say nothing. I'm going to just be like, and they scrunch up their face and they have like this attitude, because it's like, how dare you know that you're all that? And the woman is over there, she's not even saying anything. And then if she gets compliments, it's almost like the eyes start to roll. And it's this idea that these men think that I have to humble her and bring her down a little bit back to reality, and let her know not every man is going to find you attractive. Not every man is going to like you. And it's almost like they go out of their way to do that. And this goes back to the idea of humility and humble. Like, where did you find the space to use that word? Why should I have to be humbled when it comes to confidence? It hasn't reached arrogance, right? I just probably know that, okay, I'm a decent looking person and I feel good about myself and I'm happy. Why does that threaten you? Why do you feel like you have to humble me and bring me down or point out flaws as if I don't know my own self? And that's the key. When you're unbothered about that because you already know your flaws and you love them, accept them, and you promote them just as much as you promote everything else, then they get upset. Because their call to action to humble you does not work. Because I didn't need to be humbled. I already have the understanding that I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I have the humility and the humbleness to understand that I'm no bigger than life, that I can probably not be this person's cup of tea. But that's okay though. I don't care, because I'm my cup of tea. And my cup of tea is not for everybody. So who are you to play God to try and humble me? In what way? It's almost this assumption that people think like, oh, she thinks she's all that, or she thinks she has it easy. But who told you that? You could not be further from the truth. But again, this is the other person's insecurities being projected onto you, men included, because men included. So I just want to say, please, if you find yourself feeling like you have to humble somebody because they look too pretty or they seem to be too talented for your liking, you're uncomfortable now because their talents and their attractiveness just seems to make you feel small, or brings attention to the fact that you yourself are not out there making it happen. You're not making any moves. You're not as talented, or you haven't put in any effort into being talented or fostering your talents. That is your issue. Let's stop the projection. Because it's just not right. We're talking about growth here. We're all adults. The point is to grow, to self-improve. And so I have to give you that message. Stop with the projection. Stop being jealous of someone else. If someone else is always, you find that they're always naturally skilled, they always seem to have it all together. You have no idea the work that took to get them to that point. You have no idea of the history behind why they strive for certain things to happen for them. Let's all focus on ourselves. Let's focus on our own talents, what we can be doing to improve ourselves. Let all this comparison between ourselves and someone else, what is damaging and what is dangerous. This is why we have this whole debate on being humble and all this other crap about let's bring you down and this one less than me. And why are we comparing that to each other? It was never meant to be compared as far as people other than ranks. And we're applying it and inserting it where it doesn't need to be. And again, I'm going to repeat, everyone's level of humility will vary. Everyone's level of self-improvement varies. Everyone has different levels in this life and lessons in this life. Everyone's goal is going to be different. Not everyone is meant to be as understanding as the next. Some of us already come with the skill to be naturally understanding. So then you need to practice better judgment so you don't become a doormat. So learn what you need to do for yourself. and base your life on that, not on someone else's life. Because then we start paying too much attention to other people's business. Now we're comparing ourselves to them, to what we assume is going on in their lives. Why? You put in all that extra energy. Listen, every ounce of energy that I have in this lifetime, I'm going to use that to figure out what I need to do. The only ounce of energy that I'm going to give to someone else is like my son, my kids. No one else. Why am I putting so much energy into what this other person has to do? That's their business. That's for them to learn. Simple as that. Even with the podcast, giving advice, I could only give you advice from what I've already experienced, or analyze something until we all figure it out together. But I can't force you to do something that you don't want to do. It's your life. Simple as that. You can give somebody advice and they don't take it. Hey, no love lost. Do your thing. Learn your lesson on your own. So why are we looking at other people's lives and then want to compare it and say, oh, this person you need to tone it down. You need to humble yourself because I'm starting to feel a little uncomfortable. I'm starting to feel small. I'm starting to feel like you're taking away all the attention. That's not my problem. Oh, you look too good. Oh, that dress looks too good. It's too fancy. Why are you wearing that to the club? If you wear that, no one's going to look at me. That is your problem. It happens all the time, even with family. Oh, what are you wearing? You don't need to know. I'm wearing clothes. No, but I want to know what you're wearing so I could look better than you. Like, come on. How old are we? Be you, do you. And stop comparing. Stop trying to police people and tell them how to make yourself feel comfortable. You deal with your own comforts. So if you're uncomfortable in someone's presence, you have to analyze and ask yourself, well, why am I uncomfortable every time this person's around? Oh, because all the attention goes on to her. Okay, so it's jealousy. So now you got to find out what you're not doing to believe in yourself or uplift yourself enough so where you start to glow. And I promise you, because I've done it all the time, you don't have to dress a certain way. You don't have to put on certain makeup to look good to get all the attention. You can literally walk into a place in your natural form and still get more attention. It is just the energy that you're bringing. The glow has nothing to do with your makeup and your highlighter and your lip gloss, and none of that to do with that. It helps, but it's what it really is the inner glow. We could see that crap coming from the inside. That comes from the internal into the external. It radiates. That's where you get the word, oh my God, she's so radiant. You're radiating. That energy is coming out because you look like you think you're money. You look like you're confident. And that's all you need. So why are you not doing that for yourself? And then get mad because someone else is doing it? Because they got the memo? Okay, well, I'm giving you the memo. So there's no excuse. So that's all I wanted to talk about, because that's what has been circulating on social media this week. And I just wanted to chime in and see to it that we discuss that. So we'll see to it. And I want to thank you guys for all the support on the podcast. And see you guys next week.